Well, good day, Steve. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Jeff. How are you?
Oh, good. Oh, yes. I'm looking forward to this one.
Excellent. How are you guys out there? I hope you're well.
Yes. All right. So what have we got, Steve?
Well, today we've got a beautiful movie, I think, called Rosa's Wedding. It was released in 2020, but it's taken a little while to get to our cinemas, of course. And Rosa's Wedding is about a 45-year-old woman, which is about to turn 45. And she's one of these people who is constantly doing things for other people. So she works in a costume shop and does sewing, and she wants to start her own business. Everybody calls on her, workmates, family, friends, and she's just become known as a person who is generous with her time and energy. And so she decides that she's going to leave all this behind and try to find herself and fulfill her dreams. Rosa's wedding refers to the fact that she is going to go off for a short time to a little beach village, and she's going to have a wedding, and she's going to marry herself.
Wow.
And that causes an incredible amount of consternation and anger and all sorts of things in this little community of family and friends and workmates.
What a lovely metaphor, though, marrying yourself, which is that sort of metaphor of looking after and loving yourself,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, maybe we can have a bit more of a talk about that after we've had a bit of a look at the trailer. What do you think?
That's a good idea.
Excellent.
Okay. All right.
Right. Now, you were suggesting that there was a metaphor there. Yes.
Just the lady there.
Oh, you darling.
That looks lovely.
White chocolate, macaroni and fudge.
Whoa.
Whoa. It's lucky I'm a diabetic, I'll enjoy that.
What porky pie are you going to say? Lucky you won.
Lucky I'm being diagnosed with diabetes, I can make the best use of that.
Who to die? That you're asleep.
Diagnosed.
Oh, okay.
I'll look forward to that. Yes, well, just before we watched the trailer there, Jeff, you were talking about this being a metaphor.
Yes.
Feel free to continue.
Sorry to pinch your
No,
thunder.
not at all, no.
It's a brilliant thought, isn't it? Marrying yourself. It's something I've never thought about that as a metaphor for taking care.
No, it was quite a surprising little premise for this movie. I don't know whether I should have told that to people.
Oh. Do you want to scrap it?
Is that a spoiler or not? I wonder.
It's a very good question.
I'm just going to have a look and see what other people... You can edit this out, can't you?
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know, someone else has talked about it, so maybe it's not a spoiler. I don't think it's a spoiler. So let's... yes, so she goes off to marry herself. Yes. You were going to say some more about that. You want to? You're going to have to do a bit of editing on this one.
I will. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. You're the boss.
Carry on.
Yes, well, yes, I think that's an excellent metaphor. That, in fact, the whole movie is really about the idea that you lose yourself if you sacrifice your own needs and desires. I think we've got to do that bit again, don't we? Don't we make a lot of noise in the back?
I might sort of throw in there the idea of that really, in a sort of a Christian sense, losing yourself is a very strong thing.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about it. So
do you want to
let's
start
cut
this
in.
again? Or do you think we can go... Oh, you'll know where to go back to.
Yeah, we'll go back to where the trailer finishes.
Okay, let's do that.
Right.
So, Jeff, just before the trailer, you were talking about this being a metaphor.
Yes, something I've never thought about that metaphor. Not that I'm special, but it's very strong and immediately understandable that when you marry somebody, love is such that you care for the other person.
Yes.
So the metaphor, in fact, not forces you, but pushes you in the direction of, if I'm married to myself, then I have to look after myself.
Yes. Yes, and care for yourself, nurture yourself.
Yes.
And someone, you just mentioned the fact that you weren't special. This movie's been made for you, possibly. No. Well, in some ways that's true, because we don't often see ourselves as special, and we see ourselves as an ideal. I think this is an ideal that's often pressed on us, is that we need to be other focused, and we need to sacrifice ourselves often for other people, and this is true love in a way. And I suppose there is a sense where that may be the case. There may be times when people freely choose to sacrifice themselves for others. I can imagine, for example, parents and children. If you might literally sacrifice yourself for your children on some occasions. But I think the main point of the movie really is that you can't actually care for other people unless you have loved yourself, cared for yourself, nurtured yourself. You're satisfied with you've got dreams, and you want to meet those dreams and fulfill them. And really, you can't be an authentic person until you've done this.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, you're doing damage to yourself, which creates a problem for helping others.
Yeah.
And as a friend of mine used to say to me, in the airline thing where they say if there's turbulence or something, a bag will drop down from behind. Put it on your own first before you help your kids.
Right.
You have to look after yourself, otherwise you're incapable of really helping somebody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there might be times when we cannot help somebody else for some reason. I don't want to make this film sound too serious, because it's actually a comedy drama, I'd say. It is very light-hearted. I had some good laughs through it, and so it's even though it's very amusing and fast-paced and light, it has got this deep theme in there, which I think often we know that humour is often a better way to get something across to us.
But it's not didactic.
No, not in the least.
Right.
I mean, there's a very clear message in the film.
Yes.
And because she has to try and explain what she's doing to other people who cannot get their heads around it, this whole thing, and the shock when they discover that she's marrying herself and not having a traditional marriage, and they have to examine their own lives to, what is it that I'm doing in terms of just not taking responsibility for what I'm responsible for, and I'm passing it on to somebody else who is so habitually generous,
Yes.
The unfairness of that comes out a lot too,
Yes.
So I think it's a marvellous movie.
Well, it sounds to me, Steve, that it sounds like a corrective to that almost guilt-driven propensity of particularly religious folk to downgrade their own selves for the sake of others. And it's a corrective also to our world service, where we are focusing on those areas of kindness and compassion and helping others, that unless we look after ourselves, then we are less likely to be effective in doing that.
Indeed, yes. I mean, in conversations we've had about the world service and its purpose, you've often mentioned the fact that it's about providing tools and things to nurture oneself, to heal oneself and so on. So I think this actually fits very much with the idea. I mean, the question that I think we're left with at the end of this movie is two questions. But there's two sort of sides to the coin. One is, am I sacrificing myself to such an extent, to help others and to give and be generous to the extent that I'm actually damaging myself and my mental health, my well-being, and making myself ineffective? and losing my own integrity and authenticity? That's one question. But the other question I think that possibly some of us could answer is, am I using somebody else in that way? Am I one of these people that expect other people to do it for me? And am I burdening other people with this expectation? It's when something becomes a totalising idea and we say, oh, that person is really generous, or that person gives so much of themselves, or that person does things for other people. It's sort of like a totalising thing potentially.
Yes.
And there's got to be room to not give at some time, and not sacrifice or whatever,
It's the totalising, isn't it?
That's
it's
right.
The key.
It's the
key to
totalising.
it. It's key to it.
Yeah.
So it's this tricky balancing act between generosity, but also being generous to ourselves as well as to others. So both and world we live in.
Yeah. And the beauty of this movie, it does it in such a light-hearted, joyous way, actually. I felt very uplifted at the end of the movie. Challenged, but also uplifted. So it's not a downer of a movie. It's just it's a celebration of life and the fact that we all are responsible for living our lives, and we need to look after ourselves first if we're going to effectively live that life. I highly recommend this movie. I thought it was great, and I should just mention that in Australia it's going to be released on July the 22nd in cinemas where cinemas are open. I don't know that it'll be on mainstream cinemas, but more like Palace Nova cinemas, or more independent cinemas. Perhaps. So I recommend it. Keep an eye out for it, and if you can find it, and I'm sure it will come on the streaming services at some point.
Good-o. Thank you so much again, Steve.
Thank you.
And we wish you well with your film viewing.
Indeed. And can I also say perhaps that feel free to leave us a comment on the web if you want to about the movie, or you might even have movies in mind that you'd like us to chat about.
Yes, that'd be good.
We'd be happy to look at that, or suggestions for us to look at even.
Yeah. Or good movies you've seen and you want to write a little review, or send us a little video or something, we can throw it up on the web service.
Indeed, absolutely. So you'll find contact details on the website.
Beautiful.
Lovely. See you next time.
Okay. See you, Steve.
Bye for now.
Bye. Right. Well, that's...
You want me to press that button?
Yeah, thanks.